everyone, it's Eliza McNamara here to talk to you today about the hero's journey. If you're not a spiritual person, then please don't watch this because you'll just freak out, right? So basically, the hero's journey is about the journey that each successful person takes from being unsuccessful to being successful. And, you know, we're all born successful, and there's all these spiritual theories and hypotheses are saying that we're all born successful. But I mean successful in, you know, you seeing yourself as being successful in a commercial sense, let's say, right? So basically, what happens to each one of these people who achieve great successes, they have a period in their life where something happens that forces them to grow and to move forwards and to transform. And if you choose to transform when this thing happens, then amazing things happen. And you get people that choose to take this on board, that choose to move forwards with this, that choose to transform themselves and transform their lives and create the reality that they want for themselves. And then you get those that will push it away and they're scared of it, and they won't move forwards with it, and they won't do what they need to do. Like, for instance, a great example of this is people who say they can't stand the self-improvement industry. They say they can't stand it, they hate seminars, they hate reading motivational books, they think it's all crap. And basically, I believe the reason these people don't like motivational books or seminars or any of these things is because they're scared. Because they realise that there is a huge amount of stuff out there for you to learn and integrate into your life. And they don't realise that once they start doing it, they'll feel better, not worse. Because what happens is, when you start to grow and you start to learn and you start to commit yourself to being on a higher vibrational level, there's this period that you have to go through that's quite painful, because it's a shedding process. It's like spiders. They shed their entire skin every 6 to 8 weeks. So basically their entire skin, like the whole thing, comes off. Because I used to have a tarantula. The whole skin comes off, and it's like there's another tarantula inside their cage. It's really bizarre. And I liken human beings to being the same. When they start a period of transformation, when they start to grow and transform themselves and commit to becoming the best person they can be. And so, like, let's say the old you wasn't aware of the self-improvement industry or seminars or any of this stuff. Like, at the most extreme end of this spectrum is someone like Tony Robbins. You know, he was overweight before he became successful and started doing what he was doing. He was overweight, he was poor, and by committing himself to improving himself and to learning about how to become the best person he could be, he is now a super successful motivational speaker, and he's helping other people to do the same thing. So basically, the point I'm trying to make here is, you start off at a certain level. You know, some people are obviously at a higher level than others. You know, you might not be fat and poor like Tony Robbins was, but you know, I'm sure there's something in your life which you'd like to change. In order to make that transformation, in order to make that change, in order to go from being where you are now to where you want to be, you have to commit yourself to an intense education. And it's not something you're going to learn from your friends, and you most likely, at the moment, if you're making this change, have perhaps some people in your life that help you to move towards being that kind of person. You may not have any. You may only have your books. Like Oprah Winfrey said, the only thing that kept her knowing that there was a better world out there when she was growing up were the books that she used to read. And basically what happens is, when you integrate all of this stuff into your life, there's like this thing called the hero's journey that happens. And basically the hero's journey is like, this thing will happen, or a number of things, a sequence of events that will force you to change, that will force you to move forwards. And it could be anything. It could be an illness. It could be your family members that you're depending on moving to another country. It could be anything, right? For me, it was the family members that I was depending on financially and also emotionally moving to another country. And I was like, oh, okay, I've got to move to this other country or grow. So I chose to grow, and I chose to move to Australia. And basically the point I'm trying to make here is that if you're going to change is something which we're all naturally scared of. We're all naturally scared of change and growth. And basically this happens at the deep deepest psychological level. Like, people will cling to something which is negative because they're used to it, whether it's a positive or a negative thing, just because they're used to it. Whether they like it or not is irrelevant. If they're used to it, then they will cling to it like their life depended on it. And that's what stops most people from succeeding in life. They just want things to remain the same. They don't want to rock the boat. And I'm not saying that everyone's like this, but we all have a part of this in our character. And the extent to which you succeed will depend on how attached you are to keeping things the same, to remaining the same, to not growing and moving forwards. Because if you want to achieve something, anything at all, you're going to have to change a lot. You're going to have to embrace change. But change is a wonderful thing. Change is a positive thing. Change is a beautiful thing. And the easiest way, I believe, to enact change in your life is to make sure that you take full responsibility for all of your actions. And sometimes you may have people in your life who are scared of you making those changes, because if you become greater, if you become successful in whatever area you want to become successful in, then what does that say about them and their life? That they have to change as well, and then they feel this pressure that they have to improve and they have to become a better person. And this isn't done on a conscious level. They don't realise this, they don't do it on purpose, but they may hold you back because they're scared that they're going to lose you. And if you can be aware of this, then you can try and talk to them about it. Or sometimes, in some cases, you may have to get away from those people because it will hold you back and stop you from going to where you want to go towards. Like, for instance, Pinocchio is an example of the hero's journey. Like, if you think about the story of Pinocchio and what happens, I'm pretty sure you would have watched that movie, because it's a very old movie, Disney classic, kind of like Sleeping Beauty or Cinderella or Alice in Wonderland. And basically, it goes through him going from being wooden to being a real boy. And you could say wooden, him being wooden at the beginning is where you were at the beginning of your journey or are at the moment, and him being a real boy is where you want to be. And it's quite an abstract concept to link Pinocchio to your life and you making change in your life. But once you get through to the other side, it's amazing. The things that happen and like, it's just amazing. It's absolutely incredible. So basically, what I'm trying to say to you today is, whatever you have to do to enable yourself to make those changes, do it. Because you'll feel so much better on the other side. And getting through that in-between stage is hard. It is hard because you have, there's this friction whilst you go from being the person that you were to the person that you really want to be. And there's a lot of friction, and I think the biggest friction comes from your fear of change. And once you embrace that and you take that on board and you recognise it for what it is, then everything just goes to where you want it to go. And I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, ever, because nothing's ever perfect. But you'll be so much happier if you make those changes and make those commitments and do what you need to do to get from here to here.